Becoming is better than being, and that's precisely why we consider ourselves to always be a work in progress. It means that you are never complete, and you always have the opportunities to become someone better.
It allows you the ability to be comfortable with making mistakes and accepting yourself for who you are.
We are work in progress. Hi, I'm Anna.
I am GK.
And I am Kusem.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
So, the first thing we're going to talk about today is about a whole concept about the schools burning. But it's not me leading this section, it's actually you, Kusem. So why don't you take it away, Chris?
Yes. So recently we've seen a spate of school fires all over the country, one after the other. There are others which were, there's just students taking up arms, so to speak, and causing a lot of destruction in our schools.
Yeah.
And this is not new. In this country, we've had school fires for as long as we can remember.
In fact, it's like almost a yearly phenomenon.
Yes.
It's every November, not October, November season, just before the examination process begins. But this year is a bit different because I don't believe there are exams.
I don't know.
There are always exams. There are always exams. It's more cyclical. It keeps coming back and coming. And so maybe one of the questions I'm going to ask is this. Why haven't we done anything about it? We know around a certain period in our country, these things keep occurring. Why can't the government and all the stakeholders involved in the education sector do something to try and curb it, or at least control it in such a way that it's not as rampant or as widespread as it is?
Can I answer your question with a question?
Please.
Okay. Do you remember, I think it was a few years ago, when Dr. Fred Matiang'i was the CS for Education, and the fires had happened, and he warned that the parents of the children would be liable for the actions caused by the children. So they'd fix the school, they'd be the ones liable to fix the school. But even with that happening, what has really changed? So the question I have is, what can they do? You know, you say, why haven't they addressed it? How can they address it? Even every time they seem to address it, it still seems to like get another head. It's like that.
The Hydra.
The Hydra. It just grows another head along
bigger
the way.
and stronger.
Bigger and stronger.
You know, in Tanzania it happened during the reign of the late Magufuli.
Yeah, I think during the pandemic or just before or just around there. Yeah.
So what they did, the PC called all the boys. They were lined up Ivo.
Oh my.
They were all getting the 6 of the best.
What?
So you're given 6 of the best, and then you're sent home, and you'll come back and pay. And it was done in public, the public flogging, yeah? And youth and protest is not a new thing. It's been going on all around the world since time immemorial. Let me say that.
There's some, I was looking back at the history, and it goes way back, way back.
Way back. Like in 2018, there was a March for Our Lives. This is when students from Parklands in Florida went to the street to protest against gun violence.
Parklands in Florida?
Yeah, no, not Nairobi. Parklands in Florida. so they went to the streets to protest against gun laws. They wanted a reform in gun laws. Yeah. Because a few of their classmates, some of their classmates were murdered in class. A guy walked in with a gun and sprayed them. Yeah. There are several other movements that have happened that were primarily led by the youth. I'll give you about 3 or 4 of them, yeah? The civil rights movement. Most people don't know, but the young people marched from Selma to Montgomery in 1965. Yes. These led, they were protesting against voter rights and them being allowed because there's that segregation. It led to actually that law being passed, and they were now allowed to vote. The Vietnam War protest, the young people led that one. Tiananmen Square, remember that Tiananmen Square in 1989? Chinese youth were demonstrating, demanding democratic reforms and economic liberalization. Unfortunately, the military was sent down there. They killed a lot of people. The damage to which, to date, cannot be explained. Arab Spring, you can talk about Arab Spring. And how, because I know you know a thing or two about the Arab Spring. The indigenous water rights, this is when okay, let me call them the Indian community in America, the Native Americans, yeah. There were these pipelines, oil pipelines that were passing through their reserves and their waterways, and they went and protested. They didn't want that need to happen. So youth have been a big part of protest and angling for democratic change and change in society.
I think Greta Thunberg is a young child as well.
Yes, climate. She's fighting for climate and all that. Yes. In Kenya, we have our university students who are always fighting and agitating against change. So,
but you see, therein lies my question, Chris. Okay. You've given us so many examples.
Yes.
So many examples. But the question is, what are the age of these children? Many of these examples you're using, these are youth, these are university students.
Yes.
Them university students, since forever, they're the ones who lead revolutions. In fact, in Kenya in the 1980s, several of them were taken to cell with GSU to be shown a few things after the 1982 attempted coup. It's not necessarily funny, but it's true. It happens everywhere, but the ones where schools are involved, actually, high school students, they're a bit more rare because of the youth of the youngness that they have, if that's a word. And then you said something about the Black Civil Rights Movement, which made me think of something. You guys read the book David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell?
Of course.
It's an excellent book. I would recommend it. There's one chapter where he talks about how the civil rights movement turned on its head. And he talks about how there was this guy who was good at galvanizing people for the civil rights movement to protest. And so he galvanized students. He was a teacher and he galvanized students, young students, to go and protest. And then what happened is it sort of got chaotic and a few students were arrested. And there's this picture, this famous picture of a dog being attacking like a young boy. And he sort of explains how that moment helped completely change the civil rights movement and bring people on the front, because young children getting hurt, that's something no one wants to see.
It's true.
But in my opinion, young children from high schools should not be doing what we're seeing them doing, burning schools, standing out in revolt, because they don't yet understand the consequences of their actions. You burn a school, it means you stop learning.
You're risking people's lives. There's so much at risk.
Yeah.
And why?
I beg to differ. You know why? These children in high school, it's their brothers and sisters who are in campus doing these things, right? And we live in a society where information spreads very fast. Now, if I'm a high school student and my brother is in the university and they are protesting, and I'll go back to Nairobi University. If you live in Nairobi, you know how destructive, how dangerous those protests are, right? Yeah. And it's a whole conversation erupts from the action that they do. They leave the hostels, go and throw stones at the buildings, vehicles and all that. Yeah. So if I'm at home and I'm seeing my neighbor or my brother doing that, and I'm like, they were agitating for something, and they got it after they did this, what comes into my mind is, okay, violence is the best way to go about it.
You see, there I agree with you. The students doing this, to me, is a reflection of the larger society and the values we hold. We sort of appreciate that when we can't sort of verbalize our problems, we tend to lean to violence, which is a very negative thing to do. But yeah, some of the things that they're fighting for make no sense, in my opinion. For example, and I'll use your University of Nairobi example for a quick thing. One of the biggest things that students would fight for in the University of Nairobi was food prices. Okay. It was the subsidies that have increased by 1 shilling, 2 shillings, 5 shillings that caused people to fight. That affects their bottom line. But some of the agitations that were happening with these schools going on fire is that they need rest. Okay. Isn't there a better way to reflect that they need rest? Then, for example, I think it's Muhoho High School.
Boys,
Muhoho Boys High School, where they, it's not something we should be laughing at, but it's a very interesting story. Literally, the boys went to their headmaster and told them, look, man, I'm sorry, but we are tired, and we don't want to burn this school. So because we don't want to burn this school, we are going to walk out. And we will tell you when we will come back.
That's a very grown-up thing to do. It's a very grown-up thing.
It's better than burning the school.
Yes. And you asked a question, why is it that we're resorting to violence to pass our message? Yeah. In the next segment, I might try and explain that. So stick around and you'll get to hear that.
Okay. But before let me ask, what's going wrong? One of the things is when you look at what schools are being set on fire, these aren't private schools, these aren't schools in affluent societies. They're your public schools in rural areas. They're places where the education infrastructure, the education funding is very little. It's poor.
It's not Sarai High School, it's not Alliance.
And so what are the solutions? I was thinking, okay, when you look at maybe the differences with the schools, it's what they offer. Yeah. Private schools will give you outlets, things like sports, extracurricular activities. They'll have counseling sessions. Somewhere where you're giving the students a space within the school, to have an outlet for their frustrations. With the arts find a different way to express their anger, their frustrations. And then you have things like student councils where you give the students an opportunity to raise their issues in a more sophisticated manner, in a more healthy manner. So, I mean, these are our children. I was reading an article by The Standard, I'll call them out. And they basically called these kids little terrorists, like low-level terrorists. And so I was like, the second you label someone a terrorist, you open up the doors for all kinds of breaches of security to happen to their civil rights. And these are our kids. These are our future. We shouldn't be treating them as as terrorists. We should be asking, what have we done wrong? Because to cause this. What if we went wrong somewhere in their upbringing, in the environment we give them? So we need to think, what are we doing wrong? Not punish them and send them to jail for what? 60 years.
60 years. Someone was suggesting
what is that? You're going to send a whole school
60 years,
to jail for 60 years. So you've taken a whole, so you just turned that school into a prison then.
That's actually, that actually led me to ask a question to both of you, but Anna, I really want to hear your opinion on this. Chris, I kind of already know your opinion, but let me start with Anna. Do you think the response by a lot of people to bring in sort of punitive measures, some people were calling for corporal punishment, some people were for the return of corporal punishment, which Chris, you were kind of advocating for, where you said that the Tanzanians were being given their six of the best. So corporal punishment, jail terms, making people pay. Do you think these measures will actually solve the problem in the long term, or are they very short-minded, short-term?
I think it misses the point, because you're not addressing anything. All you're doing is punishing them, but these issues will continue. So I'll punish you, but Chrisem is still there, and he'll still have the same frustrations. You need to address the cause. I think you need to address the causes, and how you choose to respond to what they've done needs to be in a way that then nurtures them to change their behaviors, to change their thinking. So you need to give them like some positive ways of responding. I don't think putting someone in jail, a kid, is going to do anything other than cause more problems for him or her or their family. It's just every time you put someone in prison, you're hurting other people's lives. And for what? For someone who's probably just overwhelmed that you gave them homework, you told them to wake up at 4 in the morning, you put them in a crowded school where you're like, of course you're going to get frustrated.
Okay. Those examples made me think of another question. Do you think maybe because the human brain sort of evolves, a study was done where many studies have been done to realize that the human brain doesn't fully form until really you're in your 20s, or it doesn't really fully hit its stride. So, some of the issues they're going through, when you're looking at it from an adult's perspective, who's gone through them 30 years ago, they seem petty. They seem, why are you crying over extra homework? Why are you stressed that you don't have holidays? When we work, we only get 30 days a year. Is it 30? It's 21 days a year. It's less. Why is it, so do you think maybe adults have lost touch with what it feels like to be teenagers?
My argument for this is, and it's that argument of, are these generations weak? Have they become soft? Is everything always a problem? But don't your parents always tell you, I worked super hard. I put up with a lot of things so you don't have to live the life I lived, so that you have freedoms. That's what you're always told by your parents, by your generations. I fought for you to have a life where you could express yourself differently. So why are you going to give your child that opportunity then say, but I didn't do that? You fought for them to have those freedoms.
I'll answer and say, the answer is yes. We have become soft, but also, which is true, there's that you get out of touch. Because I used to wake up at 3 in the morning. Now I don't have to wake up at 3. Now you complaining about waking up at 6. I'm like, come on, man. I used to wake up earlier. I get that. We've grown up and we're now dealing with other problems to a point where we've forgotten the issues we used to deal with when we were younger. So these kids, they do have issues, and whereas it may seem trivial to you, it's not trivial to us. We are young, we are foolish, it's allowed, right? There's a school that was burned down because the kids were not allowed to watch the Liverpool versus Manchester United game.
That was a few years ago.
No, it's a few weeks ago.
Oh, there was another.
It's the very recent one.
Okay.
The one that United, that one. So for the parents.
Can divulge further.
No, let's stay on topic.
Okay.
For the parents who look at that, parents will look at that and like, you banned a school because you're not allowed to watch a
football game.
And see, the thing we'll be told is, football will always be there, which is true. It's true. But I want to watch the game right now.
Yeah.
What's so wrong about the school giving up 2 hours and say, okay, you can watch, because it was on a weekend, you can watch the game, but then after the game, give us back an hour, go back to class and study for an hour. What these concessions, it should be concession. You give me this, I give you that. Yeah. Before you continue, I hypothesize as to why youth tend to be more in the front line when it comes to revolutions. Yeah. One of the reasons I found was there's a larger social network for them to conduct ideas and mobilization. See, now for me as a young guy, I can talk to my friend in Marsabit, I can talk to my friend in somewhere else, and through social media, you can make use of that and come together. We have more time and energy to get involved in protests. Some of them are jobless, so there's a lot more time. Youth have nothing to lose, so they are more brave than the older groups. Like right
they
now,
don't understand the severity of consequence.
Maybe not. See, right now, for me, I don't have a family yet, right? So I'm like, let me go and do this. If I get arrested, it's just me getting arrested and all that. But for you, if you have a family,
the risk is
you have to think of my wife, my 2 children and all that, Then the youth have, quote unquote, longer to live, right? So they live with the consequences for much longer, like Greta Thunberg, If she doesn't, this is me hypothesizing, if she doesn't take a stand in this climate change, she gets to live for the next 60, 70, 80 years.
Experiencing.
Yes. See now, our world leaders, some of them are 70, some of them are whatever.
There are many who are much
me, I'm going in the next like 10 years. I'm out, right?
88,
So it's a whole myriad of things. So I think that's why the youth are more into the front line, because for them, it's time. There is nothing to lose, and or maybe more to lose if they don't take action, and some other things. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you could.
You know, this conversation can continue and continue, but I can see the time, and we need to take a break. So we'll be back after the break with the next segment. Welcome back to Work in Progress. Now it is time for a quiz led by AX, who will be reminding us that it is...
AX? You mean Anna?
I'm sorry.
This happens too often.
I miss AX a lot. Your names are too close. We need to find another name for you. Welcoming Anna to introduce a quiz because it is Hip Hop Month.
Yes. Okay, so I've got 10 questions.
Okay.
First 5 are going to be very quick. I want to run through them really quickly for time purposes. So let's get right into it.
I think I'll win this.
Let's see. Okay, Chrisem, I think you should get this one just because you did say Kanye was your favorite artist.
Oh, okay.
So let's go. Kanye West's album, College Dropout, was released in what year?
Ooh, 2007. No, 2005. 2005.
Very close. Chrisem?
Chrisem,
you should know this.
But I know graduation. 2008.
2006.
Why did you change your answer?
Oh, because you said very close. Okay, sorry, 2005.
It's 2004?
It's 4, yeah. Okay. I knew -4.
Who is known as the queen of hip-hop soul? I was looking at you because I feel you should know this one.
Hip-hop soul.
Queen of soul is Aretha Franklin. So hip-hop soul is...
I'm stuck between 2 people. The audience may know them or not. One is Lauryn Hill. But she did like 1 album. Then the other one is Mary J. Blige. I'd go with Mary J. Blige.
Okay. Chrisem?
I think he's right. So I'll say Lauryn Hill. But he's right.
GK, you are right. It is Mary J. Blige. Next one, very easy. Okay. What country is French Montana from? People, you should know.
So French. But Montana is a state in America.
Your reasoning is just off. It has nothing to do with his name.
They just put names on Google and then Google just gives them names. I sounded like a grandfather there, but it's okay. I would say, but I like the French connection. Maybe he's from a French-speaking country.
He's from New York.
Martinique.
So random. No.
Oh, okay.
Just no.
I mean, I'll just be the contrary and say USA, American.
Very far away, guys. He's from Morocco. That's why I brought it up.
What? Okay.
French Montana. So you should have been one of the Moroccan tribes.
What, Arabic Montana?
Beer Montana.
Okay, next question. Abbas and Bamboo are former members of what hip-hop duo?
K-South.
Yes, nice.
Yeah.
Extra points if you tell me what K-South stands for.
Kariobangi South.
GK. Of course you knew that, huh?
You get half a point from me.
I knew it.
Okay. Which of the following is not a subgenre of hip-hop? Okay. You have boom bap, hi-fi, backpackers, jazz rap, and roots rap.
Backpackers. That sounds like...
It sounds like a restaurant in Mombasa.
No, backpackers sounds more hippie. It's more hippie, so hip is more into rock-ish, so I'll say backpackers.
I'd say the boom bap.
Boom bap.
Because
final answers?
You said hi-fi, boom bap.
So boom bap, hi-fi, backpackers. It's spelled H-Y-P-H-Y.
Okay.
Backpackers, jazz rap, or roots rap?
There's roots rap. There's jazz rap for some reason, but there's no boom bap.
There's no boom bap, and you're saying backpackers. You're both very wrong. Boom bap is actually represents the sound used between the bass drum, and the snare drum. It's a very old school.
Why wouldn't it be called boom snare?
It's boom bap.
It's the boom bap. It's a very
okay.
Go watch.
French Montana.
Backpackers is actually a subgenre of hip hop. It's a group of like artists that reject the commercialization of hip hop and the music in general. Okay. So they very much believe in like very underground, very conscious music. The name Backpackers comes from the fact that it's a lot of like college students, so they have backpacks. They're usually filled with college books and record labels. That's where the name comes from. Okay. The answer is actually roots rap. I just made that up.
But see the rap from the...
I wanted to confuse you.
Yeah, that's it. That was your fault, Anna.
Okay, the 1989 single, Ladies First, highlighted the gender disparities within the hip-hop industry and promoted the empowerment of women in the industry. Who is the artist behind this song?
Queen Latifah.
Christian? Come on, let's go. Think.
Ladies first.
Yeah,
ladies first.
Oh, but it can't be by a lady.
Has to be a lady.
No, but she's saying, but it's guys who say ladies first.
No, it's a lady affronting female issues.
Okay, I'd say Queen Latifah.
I'll yield to that. I'll say pass.
Yeah, you're true. Queen Latifah actually is one of the people that did this. I'm gonna
Final two questions.
Okay, final two questions. Chuck D from Public Enemy called rap the black what? The black pop, the black MTV, the black BBC, or the black CNN?
BBC is British Broadcasting Corporation, so it's not BBC. CNN, I think we call it the black. It's black culture. This is like the black news. Okay, black CNN.
I'd say black BBC.
So exactly what you said, black news, so black CNN. Basically, he was saying hip-hop is the avenue to speak out about issues because the media is not going to be your source of true news. So hip-hop was that avenue to spread the right news, basically.
Doing terribly.
Yeah,
and so last question, I want you guys to decipher, hip-hop fans, play on words,
I didn't get that.
something. So one of the things we talked about is hip-hop being an avenue for political movements.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm going to give you some lyrics by one artist, and I want you to try and figure out what this person is rapping about.
Not the artist.
I'll give you the name of the artist at the end.
Okay,
and I'm going to give you clues in each of the lyrics.
Okay, keep going.
Lyric number one. They gave us blood and hate, then wondered why we are all rebels. In the land of saints, each man raised is called a rebel. Your clue in this one is land of saints. Next lyric. I'll protest, I'll throw stones and never run. I protest until my freedom has come. Throw stones. Stone pelting?
Is that Kenyan now? Mama.
Last lyric. Tales from the dark side of a murderous regime, an endless occupation of our land and our dreams.
I assume the American dream. It's a black person talking about how the white people broke apart the
Think of occupation. And this lyric is actually considered to be, what's the word? Sedition. Basically, the fact that you can even question the occupation of land, you could actually get arrested for it. It's considered illegal to even talk about it.
Okay.
So think of a country where this is happening. I'll give you your last clue. These are songs by someone called MC Cash. The clue is in the name.
So okay, somewhere that's good with cash. Which place has a lot of money?
It's a guy. Where is he from? And what is he rapping about?
MC Cash.
MC Cash. You said the clues in the name. Cash. Capitalism. Money.
Cash with a K.
Okay,
so that changes everything.
He's from Kazakhstan.
Land of Saints. Okay. There's a place called Land of Saints.
Saints, that's New Orleans.
That's what
and it's not in America. I'll tell you this. It's from another part of the world.
Okay, so it's a place that's Catholic. Land of Saints.
Vatican.
For time's sake, I'll give you the answer.
Okay.
It's from Kashmir, and he's rapping about the Kashmir protests that happened in 2010. I brought this up because we're seeing it happening in the news again.
Oh, MC Cash.
So throwing stones, the protest was highly surrounding the fact that they were stone pelting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and he's brought a lot of movements.
Okay, so on the other side, the audience, kindly tell us how many of these questions you got right. But as we conclude, we'll have, I think, 2 minutes. So each of me and you will take 1 minute each. We're going to talk about icons of the month. Okay. October has sort of passed. It's now November season. And there are specific people who've done things in this year, in this month, that we thought it'd be great to celebrate. Yeah. So the first person I want to celebrate is actually, it's very short. His name is Professor Okoth Okombo. He was given a Google Doodle by Google, of course. And he's very important in the sort of the commercializing and the mass acceptance of KSL and other historic African languages. So he's like a linguist, but he also really pushed forward the conversation on...
What's KSL?
Kenya Sign Language, okay. Not Kenya School of Law, young lawyer. So he was a professor at the University of Nairobi, and because of his work, Kenyan Sign Language was brought out of the shadows and to the wider and able-bodied community. So now more people sort of understand and accepted KSL. So it's great for Google to recognize Professor Okombo.
Thank you, Google. Yes.
Okay.
So my icon of the month is from Malawi. His name is Overstone Kondowe. He's the first...
Overstone Kondowe. Kondowe.
Okay. Yeah, I'm saying that right. He's the first elected MP with albinism. And if you know the history of Malawi, just like Tanzania, they have a very dark history of violence against people with albinism. Yeah. So he's the first one. There's a lot of stigma, so this is a big deal for Malawi. And I think it will bring a lot of change because he's coming in to change policy. And so, yeah, congratulations.
Okay, fantastic. So that's where we'll leave you with this week's episode of Work in Progress. Thank you so much for watching, and we will be here with you